Well, hey there, ladies and gents. Appreciate you for stopping by and being with us on another episode of Advance Your Wealth. Ryan Ruff here, your moderator, but as always, I'll be joined by Homer Smith, private wealth advisor. And today's topic, we've got a unique guest joining us to dive in on the conversation today. And it really is going to be surrounding the work that Homer and his team do in helping business owners navigate some of the most challenging, meaningful, and complex transitions in their lives. And believe it or not, one of those moments and transitions can really be a moment of significant growth in their business. And while a lot of growth, sure, it's a big positive, sure, but there's a lot of important conversation that needs to happen around growth, specifically acknowledging that there is a key and fundamental difference, or a few, between growth but also scaling a business. And that's really going to be the backbone of today's conversation. So before we get into the nitty gritty and introduce you to our guest today, let's go ahead and say hey to the man of the hour. Homer, good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, Ryan, good to see you. Great to be here as always. And super excited to have Joe Shrutz on the conversation with us today to talk about scale and some really key important areas that business owners need to consider when they're going down that path. So excited to get into it.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and welcome Joe Shrutz to the show today. Joe, thanks so much for carving some time out of your busy schedule for us today.
Thank you, Homer. Thank you, Ryan. This is what I love. So just excited to be here.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off here, Joe, with a couple of questions. But first, just to let everybody know a little bit about Joe. Joe is, in my opinion, from personal experience of working with Joe, but also seeing what he does with other companies, is one of the best in the world at helping companies scale their business and significantly improve the operations surrounding that. And just excited to have all of you hear some of his insights today and learn some of the amazing things that we've gotten to see with our own business and some of those results as well. So with that, Joe, I know that as Ryan kicked off the topic today, talking about this idea that there's a significant difference between growth and scale. And it might be hard to kind of connect those dots. So I guess as we think about scale in general and maybe the traps that owners face, maybe start with that one.
Yeah, and this is something, if you actually go look online, there's actually not a recognized formal definition between them, but there is a general consensus. And I can tell you, having worked with dozens of companies, helping them navigate founder-led companies this growth period and really building their business in a way that's going to be able to be beyond them. The way I'd look at it is, growth is growth. I can grow revenue. I can grow my team. I can grow lots of things. That's just simply adding more. Scale is growing your profit faster than you're growing the rate of your costs. Scale, that means sustainability. That means duplication. That means the ability to be able to have a business that is able to grow and without you. And for founder-led businesses, in their journey, if they're good at what they do, and there's a lot of people that are really good at what they do, and they've built a business to get them to a certain point, in that journey, they get to a place where growth by itself anymore just doesn't work, because they've reached the limits of what they can do as a founder. And all the things that got them there are actually sometimes counterintuitive to instantly to this new phase of growth, the scale that they're trying to enter into.
Yeah. So growth versus scale by itself can be a trap, right? Just thinking you're growing for growing's sake, or that growth just by itself is good. There's a few other you've termed scale traps that businesses fall into as they're thinking about growth. And the second one is just an idea of just, you don't know what you don't know. And so that can obviously mean a lot of different things, but related to being a scale trap, what does that mean for businesses looking to grow?
Yeah, I use the word scale trap. One of the things that owners, especially founders, really pride themselves on, especially if they've had a level of success, is their instincts. Because that they've learned to trust their gut to be able to get them where they are. And so but there becomes that point in growth where you, like I said, the things that got you there are actually working against you now. I'm from Arizona, and it's an interesting thing when it gets 115, 120 in the desert. At a certain point, like when it's 75 degrees, if you get warm, you take off your jacket. at 115, 120 degrees, is you have the same instinct. Your body is telling you to take stuff off, and that's actually the wrong thing to do. If you look at any desert, like the Bedouin people or anybody in the desert, you'll see they're covered head to toe. Why? Because when you take everything off, all your sweat just evaporates and it's not cooling you anymore, and you'll be dehydrated and suffer heat stroke. It's the same thing in the snow, right? If you're out trapped in the snow, your temptation is to eat the snow. It actually takes more energy for your body to try and eat it than you'll actually dehydrate and die faster trying to eat the snow. And so what I use the term scale trap is because when you hit that point of growth, all of a sudden the instincts that got you there will start working against you. And so knowing, hey, there are some things that are still going to serve you, but knowing too to be to say, okay, I've got to think about some of these things differently. I need a new software. I need to download a different way of thinking. If now I'm going to go, this got me from A to B, to go to B to C.
Awesome. Another one that we've talked about and I've seen you present on is kind of different brains that an owner needs to have as they grow and scale a business. Walk me through what that means and kind of the different brains that the brain they typically might go to, but really the type of brain they should be thinking about.
I've had the chance to work with amazing business owners over the years, and that had remarkable exits and really done amazing things. And when I talk to owners, I'm categorizing them mentally into growth owners who are still growing their business in the traditional sense, and scale owners. And one of the mindsets that I can instantly tell within 2 seconds, which category, which way their brain is thinking, is how they think about the investments that they make. Growth owners, and like I said, nothing wrong with being a growth owner. Every owner getting to scale had to grow to be able to afford to be able to scale. But how you look at the money that you spend and how you look at where you're investing and what that looks like there's a huge difference. A scale owner looks at an investment in terms of what it can produce for them. A growth owner looks like a consumer, looks at what something costs. And when you are scrappy and you're just trying to make your business work, and you're trying to make payroll, and you're and I've been there as an entrepreneur. You are watching every dollar, you're watching cash flow. But there comes a point when you've earned the right not to have to do that anymore. And if that's still where your attention is, you're missing out on a huge potential opportunity to really put pedal to the metal, to really create value in your business, so that when you decide to either keep it or you decide to sell it, it's worth substantially more. And Homer, that one of the first things that any bank, any investor, any buyer is going to look at when they come into the business is, how dependent is that business on the owner? And a business where the owner, because it's working so well, it's scaled so efficiently, that owner could walk away for 90 days and walk back and that business is working better. I mean, that multiple has just gone up exponentially. And so one of the traps of scale is what got you there, right? Being super scrappy, counting every dollar. What is this going to cost me? Actually work against you, when you really should be thinking, this is an amazing investment. This is actually going to be able to pay off big for me, and I'm going to make this move. And it creates a massive amount of difference.
I love that. Another one that we've talked about, and I think definitely an area, admittedly, that I've had challenges in the past, is this idea of shiny objects and always kind of looking for the next best thing, or I guess trying to do too many things as the owner versus really just focusing on the things I'm best at. So you talk about this idea of distraction. So how is that a trap for owners looking to scale?
We coming back to this theme of you don't know what you don't know. This applies in so many ways. It applies shiny object syndrome, and it applies to the biggest mistake that most business owners, founders make when they hit this certain phase of growth. They realize wow, if I really want to have the business, the exit I want to have, if I really want to have a business that doesn't depend on me for everything, that's bigger than I am, then maybe I need to do some things differently. And the first thing that they almost always do is go out and look I need a big wig executive. I need to go hire a really expensive C-suite. and I need a CMO, and I need a chief operating officer. And then, these folks, being one and having been one, they're not cheap. And they'll often come in too. I mean, they'll be either a high performance pay, or they'll even be potentially a chunk of equity. And, and so they've come in, but there's a huge, massive danger in that, and the trap in and of itself. And the trap being that, as a business owner, let's say that I'm a dentist, right? Hey, I've done the work. I can go hire a dental hygienist all day long because I know what they should be doing. And I've done the work that they've done. And most founders have done all the different parts of their business. But now I'm looking for somebody has expertise beyond my own. And that means that anybody that knows 1% more than I do seems like a genius. And so going and hiring adding these huge expensive costs now becomes a massive, not only does it become a financial drain, it becomes a huge distraction for the business too. Everybody that's in that company, if you're a founder-led business, most likely the reason that people are there is because they're attracted to you. They're attracted to the vision that you created, and they like working with you and reporting to you. Now, bringing in other people, they're reporting to somebody else, and you have to hope it's the exact right person that does have the expertise that you need, and that you hopefully have figured out how to really, really get deep with them to understand can they be able to produce at scale. And now you've just created a massive amount of distraction in the business where that person is potentially has their own agenda, they have their own culture, and they're working and doing on their own things. Likewise, the business owner, someone that same habit that got you there of, hey, I'm super scrappy, I'm going to figure this out. I mean, Homer, when you were starting, did you do your own marketing? Yeah. Did you do your own books? Yeah. I mean, we do all it when you were in that growth mode and you're getting scrappy, you hey, if I need to do something, I'm going to learn how to do it. And that is an amazing quality at growth phase. At scale, it is the absolute worst thing that you can do. Because guess what? In a founder-led business, who is generating most likely the majority of the revenue? Founder is. And so all of a sudden they have all these new problems. They have these new things they didn't have to encounter before. Like, wow, I have a lot more people in my organization, and my communication costs have gone way up. And now, organization, it was small enough, it used to be flat, but now I have people reporting to other people. What does that look like? And my HR just got more complicated, and I need better financial projections now to be able to navigate this. And so it gets so easy, Homer, and I'm sure you felt this, to be sucked in to all of these other things that are not your thing. Meanwhile, it's your production that's driving the ability for you to be able to grow it all. And so something I see all the time is this whiplash, where you get to this phase of growth and you're like, man, I know that we can do more than what we're doing, and so let's go do it, right? And you start looking, I start playing around with this, and I start playing around with that, and I start playing around with that. I'm trying to figure this out. Meanwhile, what am I not doing? I'm not doing the thing that I'm really, really good at, the thing that allowed me to be able to get to this point that's actually going to continue, actually fund the ability to actually grow. And it's nefarious, insidious. It happens really slowly. And, pretty soon you look at your calendar and you're like, wow, I'm spending 20% of my time in actual production versus actually this 80% trying to grow my team and trying to do all these other things that I'm not really the best in the world at.
So do you have a specific example, whether, obviously the teams you coach and work with exceed at scaling, but in your experience, either businesses you've been a part of or just seen, can you give an example of how that went wrong? Specifically, obviously you don't have to give names, but just where a business was growing and or trying to scale and trying to do some of these things you're mentioning and ended up not working out.
Yeah, this is, so many to pull from. It's just something you see over and over again. And like I said, what's so tragic is they've reached a level of success. Sometimes they'll just snap back to where they are, but sometimes I had a recent engagement, company, online company grew really fast. And, they were at $50 million. They were, right up there on the Inc. 5000. They were getting ready for a really large, SPAC. Everything was poised for them to be able to be successful. And they decided, you know what? we need some really big executives. We need like these, we need some of these C-level people. And so they went out to Silicon Valley and they hired some people with some, and that one wrong hire ended up completely decimating their culture, completely flipped the financial model of the company. It got to the point where that person brought in more executives, who brought in more other people, and pretty soon you had a leadership team, that represented less than maybe 5% of the headcount that was sucking up 60% of the payroll. And got, like that distraction that caused, like, hey, I think we should be doing this instead. These are people that didn't have experience in the industry. These are people that like meant well, but like really didn't know how like to operate the business in a way that had allowed them to be able to achieve that growth. And so they stopped paying attention to all the fundamentals. They stopped paying attention to the things that were actually generating that, and they watched, and revenue dipped. And the owners, what did they do? They went to that team of big wigs, if you will, and asked them like, hey, what do we need to do? And you know what their answer was? We need to cut staff. We need to cut the golden geese, the doers that have actually know how to do this and have been doing it. It's ironic that it was it's a little bit like asking a dingo what to do with the baby. Like, oh, hey, should we cut down this massive executive overhead that we've created that's not fundamentally adding to the value of the business at this point? And I'm not saying too, there is a time and place in your business to level up to a certain level of executive leadership. But when that looks like is, in my experience, is dramatically different than when most business owners feel like they need to. And that trap right there, and in that example, I mean, that business is worth almost nothing today from $50 million a year with healthy margins and a great product and really, really strong brand equity. And in that, and it was super tragic. And I stood on the conference table and screamed and yelled, and but it was ultimately the owners had to decide which way that was going to go. And that's the challenge and opportunity of scale. Is if I get a bad customer service rep, life goes on. I hire the wrong leader when I'm trying to scale. I have the potentially to completely change my culture, completely distract me and my team, and honestly to destroy the business.
It's an unfortunate story, but a good lesson for sure. So one last area I want to talk about today, and this is something for sure that I've experienced myself, a culprit on, is this idea that, I wish my employees would think and act like an owner. Why is that crazy and silly for me or any other founder or business owner to think? What's the trap? How should we be framing that differently?
Yeah, and this is something I hear over and over and over again. Like, oh, I wish my employees could think like owners or act like owners. And if you really think about it, it's silly. If you're an owner, it means you own something. It means you get to decide what you want to do with it. In a business, if you're a founder-led successful business, you exist because you had a vision and you did the hard work and you created something that's working. And if you have team members, do you want them truly thinking like owners and like they're deciding I'm going to do what I want with the business? Be like if you had an Italian restaurant, you're like, hey, I want you guys to think like owners, and somebody raise their hand and be like, yeah, we're going to go, we're going Mexican or Greek, or you do not want a team of everybody thinking they own and can decide how things are done. The whole reason they're there in the first place and working with you is because you have a vision for what it should look like. And I get it. When owners are saying that, what are they really saying? Is they're saying like, man, I wish I had team members that could think about the business differently, that could think holistically about how their actions impact the business beyond their role. And that is a really good thing. But the word that they're looking for, the concept that they're looking for, is called stewardship. And it seems like a very, very, maybe, it's semantics, but it is a world of difference. This isn't just a word. This is a way of operating. This is a principle that completely fundamentally changes how a business feels. I ran teams of up to like 160 people more, and without babysitting, without drama, without any kind of issue at all, coming in and finding out they were doing things I didn't even know they were doing, but they were doing it better than I would have ever done. So what's the difference between, I think that's the dream, right? What's the difference? An owner owns something, a steward is responsible for something, but does something in a way, makes decisions as if the owner were making that decision. If I'm a steward inside of if I have a stewardship, let's say my stewardship is the marketing function or team and department, I'm not just doing marketing however I feel like we should do it, or I'm doing marketing the way the owner would do it. I'm making the decisions that they would make. And this sounds easy talking about it here. The reason most businesses don't operate that way is it requires a level of vision setting and expectation that's so clear that your stewards know what you would do. That's the biggest miss. It's great to want stewardship, but this is the difference between a growth owner and a scale owner. A scale owner spends a very, very large amount of time on vision. And that's a word that gets thrown around that becomes almost meaningless, but that means this. If you went to your leaders of your team, you went to your entire company and you asked them all to go in a separate room and draw a picture of what your company should look like, right? All the way from like every color, nut, bolt, and unless every single member of your team walked back in and showed each other their picture and it was the exact same thing, that means you haven't done enough vision work for your stewards to understand what that should look like. And in the absence of that, they're just deciding to do it how they want. And then as an owner, what happens? Well, hey, you should know how to do this. You should know what that looks like. But when you spent the time to do it, set that up, and you built that with the right way, an amazing thing happens as an owner where you show up and you actually like, hey, you did this even better than I could have, and you did it the way that I would have done. Hey, you made this. How did you know to make this decision this way? Oh, that's what you would have done. To get there is an investment, but it creates massive value and is absolutely essential for scale.
I love it. Love that. Love all of the amazing nuggets and ideas that you share. So before we wrap up, one last thing. So we talked about an unfortunate story of a business that kind of went off the rails as they were scaling. Tell us a good story. Tell us something that, an owner, a business that did it the right way and followed, the direction you took, avoided these scale traps. What does that look like?
Yeah, and I've talked a lot about the issues. It's super important. Like there is a way to do this, and that's not to go and hire a bunch of depending on your stage of growth, to go and hire a bunch of people that you really don't know how to hire, that are super expensive. And the other way too is not to just try and do it all yourself or rely on the team that's never been where you want to go to magically figure out how to do it. There's a third way, and I've seen this work over and over again. And it is what I sometimes people think I'm a little crazy standing on the corner with my sandwich board saying there's another way. For most owners, when they hit that scale mode, building a scale team that's not distracted, that's not confronting for the team either, because they're not designed to come in and be able to replace those roles permanently, but a scale team of fractional experts that can pull up a chair behind you and your leaders and download to you the frameworks, the principles, the proven methodologies for being able to take every part of your business and be able to scale it. And that's the true challenge of scale. When you scale, every part of your business has to scale together. If I scale marketing, but my sales team can't convert on it, I've done nothing but waste a lot of money on marketing. If I have an amazing marketing team, and I have an amazing sales team, and I have that totally dialed in, and I have an operation and fulfillment team that I haven't invested in or hasn't scaled at the same level, then I'm not going to be able to keep the business that I've been able to create. And if I've done all those things and I haven't invested in the right business services and business operations and in financial infrastructure, then I'm not going to be able to protect all of the dollars that I've been able to create and be able to maintain the growth that the scale that I've been developing. So that third way, I've had a chance to, early in my career, and really where I was clued in on this, I had the opportunity to work for a technology company that did technology consulting for manufacturing companies, and got to see this in action. And it was so, so powerful. And I got to watch them grow from about 5 enterprise clients to over, in the 4 years I was with them, over 32. And and end up in a private exit, that was almost $300 million privately for those two owners. And so, these principles of stewardship, these principles, they knew these were genius owners, but they knew, like, they didn't know what they didn't know. And so they knew when to bring in that fractional team of experts to be able to help them download all the things that they were going to need, and they were able to, like I said, to stay focused. Last thing I'll leave everybody with, growth is exciting. Scale, it requires the courage to be bold and the fortitude to be boring. And for a lot of owners who love the new thing, who love the hunt, and that's the reason where they got, it's actually one of the hardest things to do, is to be able to say, I don't know how to get to this next place. I am going to build a team of fractionals that can be able to help me get there, that makes sense for my business where it is financially. And I'm willing to stay the course and be just focus on the things that really have gotten me where I am in terms of how I'm creating value, what I'm the best in the world at.
Love it. All right. So for anybody watching today that is like, hey, this is a great story, I'd love to learn more. What's the best way for them to learn more about these scale traps, how to avoid them, and the work that you guys do at Possibility Co?
We do a growth session at the Possibility Company with businesses that are at that phase and are ready to break out and looking for the right team to help them be able to do that. It's complimentary. We love to, like I said, if you're a potential fit, we'd love to talk to you. Joe at possibility.com, and just reach out. I'd love to speak with you. It's Joe at PSBLTY.com. We're, theoretically, we're like, I guess we're against vowels, but no, Possibility spelled that way because it's there if you can see it.
Yeah, good stuff. And Joe, appreciate your time today. A lot of good insights. Homer, we've given our business owner audience out there a lot to chew on today. I'm sure we probably poked some sensitive spots for a few of them. Homer, for anybody out there that also might just maybe say we lit a fire or ignited some sort of idea within them today and would love to bounce that idea off you and your team, how could somebody reach out to you guys to have it?
Yeah, the best way always is our website, and or email me, and we'll put all that information obviously up on the screen here. But our role in this process for our clients, again, as we navigate life most complex, meaningful, complex, important transitions, is really being that guide and that personal CFO to help them identify where in the process of your business is it right to bring in a Joe, to bring in some of these fractional people, and just really excited to have gotten the chance to work with Joe and his team, and they've made a meaningful difference in our business and our lives, and just excited to share his knowledge and experience with all of you as well. So either reach out to me, happy to see if our overall process is a fit, or if just an introduction to Joe and his team makes sense. Love to do that for you.
Perfect. Well, hey, guys, really appreciate the time again today. Homer, I'll see you back here on the next one. Joe, wish you all the best and success moving forward.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
And look, folks, we're going to take a final moment, as we always do, and thank you, our audience, for making us a part of your day today. If you enjoyed today's discussion, if you learned a thing or two, make sure you hit that subscribe button then on whichever platform you checked us out on today, so that you don't miss out on any future conversations where, whether it be Homer and I dive into specific wealth management related discussions, or like today's episode, we bring on an esteemed guest to talk through their unique expertise. We'd love to have you around for that future content, because we got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline. Before Homer, I'm Ryan. We're going to go and say so long now, but we appreciate you stopping by and being with us on Advance Your Wealth.